Hey Mustangs, it's Miss Modal here, and in this video we're going to talk about how do we solve equations that have fractions in them. So whenever you solve an equation that has a fraction, you always want to get rid of the fractions first and then go through all of your other steps. So what I would like for you to do is over on your flowchart page, right up at the top, I want you to write clear fractions first. So that way you know when you look at this flowchart that you want to clear the fractions first, and then you can just go find your notes on how we do that. Alright, back to our notes. So there's two different kinds of fractions we might end up with. We could end up where we've got the same denominator, and then we could end up with a situation where we have different denominators. So let's start with the same. So if all fractions have the same denominator, then multiply all terms by the number in the denominator. Alright, so let's take a look at an example. So let's say we've got the problem 5/8x plus 3/8 is equal to 16. So the first thing that I do is I look at my denominator and I see what number do I have in my denominator. I've got an 8 here and I've got an 8 here. It's the same, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to multiply every single term by 8. So I'm going to multiply the 5/8x times 8, the 3/8 times 8, and the 16 times 8. So what this does for my fractions is it makes the 8's go away. So I can cross out this 8 and the 8 down here. I can cross out this 8 and the 8 down here. Now I'm going to write what I have left over. So my 8's went away in the first term, which left me with a 5x, plus 3 was all that was remaining there. And then on the right-hand side, I have to do 16 times 8, which I can do in my calculator. And I get 128. So this new equation that I have here is much easier for me to solve than the original with the fractions. So now it's just a two-step equation. So we'll subtract 3 from both sides. My 3's go away and I'm left with 5x is equal to 128 minus 3 is 125. And then divide both sides by 5. Use my handy-dandy calculator. 125 divided by 5 is 25. So I get x is equal to 25. Now I told you that you could also have the situation where all of your denominators are different. So if all fractions have a different denominator, then you're going to multiply all terms by the least common denominator. Alright, so let's see an example of this. We've got the problem 1/12x minus 1/6 is equal to 1/2. So I've got fractions, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all my denominators. I've got a 12, I've got a 6, I've got a 2. They're not the same, so I can't multiply every single term by the same number. So what I need to do is I need to multiply by the least common denominator. The least common denominator is the same thing as the least common multiple. What is the smallest multiple that all of these numbers have in common. So if you're not sure how to do this, something that you can do off to the side is you can start listing out multiples for each of your denominators. So for 12, we've got 12, 24, 36. For 6, I've got 6, 12, 18, 24. And then for 2, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, so on and so forth. Okay, what's the first number that they all have in common? A 12. That is their least common multiple. That's the least common denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything by 12. So the first term by 12, the second term by 12, the third term by 12. All right, when I multiply the 1/12 times 12, it makes my 12s go away. So all I'm left with there is just a 1x or an x. Now be careful here. I've got 1 over 6 times 12. That doesn't get rid of the 6 and the 12. If you do this in your calculator, you will always be sure to get the correct answer. So I'm doing 1/6 times 12. That leaves me with a 2, not with a 1. So what I'm going to write here is minus 2. The reason for that is you have to reduce. So 6 divided by 6, that gives me 1, so it makes the 6 go away, but then the 12 actually becomes a 2, because 12 divided by 6 is 2. And then equals, and then the same thing here. The 2 and the 12, they don't cancel each other out, they just reduce. So use your calculator. 1/2 times 12 gives me 6. So this is equal to 6. All right, my new equation, much easier to solve. It's a one-step equation. I need to get x by itself, so to do that, I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I get x is equal to 8. Now don't forget, even with a fraction problem, you can still check them on your calculator like we've been showing you in y1 and y2. So I'm going to do that now with this problem. So we're going to put the left side in y1 and the right side in y2. You always go back to the original equation. So we're doing 1/12x minus 1/6. That goes in y1, and then your right side was 1/2. All right, now we're going to graph it. So here's my graph. So your steps to find the point of intersection, you're going to hit second trace. Go to option number 5, intersect, and hit enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. What you're looking for is, did the x value in the intersection match the x value that we got for our answer? So on my calculator screen, I see that it's x equals 8. And if I look back at my answer, it's x equals 8, so I know I got it correct. All right, that's it. Make sure you remember to fill out the video summary below. Thanks.